What up? What up? It's your boy Dave B. DaveBeyondTV, where we go beyond the everyday bullshit that people be consuming on a day-to-day basis. I'm jumping in right at the start. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about them in Scorpio, Sun, and Libra. And so the title of the live is called How Deep Is Your Love, right? And really, shout out to Keith Sweat. You know what I'm saying? If y'all know, y'all know. If y'all don't, well, you but for the most part, when we talk about what's going on right now astrologically, what we might be encountering is this kind of underlying theme and pressure of our emotions being in a deep place, and what we're having to deal with on the surface level is more so interacting with how we relate ourselves. So on one end, it's like, okay, you're trying to relate yourself in a certain way, say that deals with having to figure out balance, fairness, how to relating goes so deep because one of the main things, and one of the things we got to keep in mind coming off of the new moon is, you know, part of the new moon, it needed us to come up with a new way or start to muster up the strength to initiate a new way to communicate. And that communicate is basically a bridge or an opening or a way. Like I look at cardinal seasons as like these are your key seasons. Key seasons, open up doors basically. So basically, how we come at our key seasons, these is how we set the tone season ahead of us. So basically what we, now we're in the fall time. So the fall time is a whole different vibe than we was in when we was in the summertime. Summertime, it was like, okay, yeah, everybody out, everybody showing themselves, everybody wanting to be seen. We had a whole lot of talents and gifts and ways that we can, express ourselves. But now it's like a shift. Now we have to be a lot more intentional about how we're expending resources, making sure that we're getting reciprocated, making sure that the things that we invest in are actually going to open up, again, doors that we want. We have to be very mindful of where we're spending our time, our energy, our focus during a transit like this. All this emotions, because with the moon in Scorpio, this is hitting a very strong grand water trine. So all of these emotions can distract you from how you utilize your mind, basically what you choose to invest energy into. And being that we're dealing with a Libra energy, again, this could throw people into decision. Now, indecision is another form of being distracted. Whenever you're distracted, you're not actually present. When you're not present, you're not taking full advantage of each moment by moment situation, which in the grand scheme of things, it's the small moments in between time that really make up uh, what happens at the end. You know what I'm saying? We can look at the future all we want, but if we're not looking at the present and treating it with focus and being intentional in that moment, then it really doesn't matter what we want to, where we want to go. We can aim all we want for something, a goal that's out of reach, but if we're not taking advantage of the day by day steps and routines and patterns that it actually takes to get there, then what's the point? You know what I'm saying? So this is kind of the situation we in with the moon in Scorpio. uh First of all, the moon doesn't like to be in Scorpio. You know what I'm saying? So there's a different kind of vibration. Again, that moon being in Scorpio is an uncomfortable type of vibration to be entering in. What up, Pedro? It's an uncomfortable situation or uncomfortable feelings, deep feelings that we might have to deal with, right? And we know Scorpio deals with kind of that fixated water. So these fixated emotions, things we get hung up on, become grudges. Now, again, if the sun needs us to relate, you can start to see and put pieces together as to how being in a certain vibration and stuck there can prevent you from feeling even comfortable and mentally, whether you want to call it prepared or even having the strength enough to say, okay, I'm still going to relate. I'm still going to work on maintaining these different relationships I got in my life and things of that nature. But a lot of times, this is the time where you're going to see a lot of people wanting to pull back their energy just off of the strength and the intensity of what we might be encountering. Shout out to everybody in the chat. You know what I'm saying? So this is something we just got to be aware of. Now, when it comes to Scorpio type energy, again, this is powerful in water trine. That's what I mean by our emotions can take us over right now. You know what I'm saying? With the moon and Scorpio trining Saturn, you know what I'm saying? So we're feeling the pressure of reality. We're looking at things that's presenting themselves as boundaries, restrictions. We might feel restricted on our ability to connect either with ourselves, others, and see everything that involves others really started with ourselves. So that's kind of what I mean too about how deep is your love. You know what I'm saying? how deep your love goes, deep as you are able to go with yourself. So, this goes beyond what you might, the concepts of love. When I say love, I don't just mean relationships and things that matter. I mean, like, when you really think about it, it's how you approach anything that you claim to value. You know what I'm saying? How you love, how deep your love is for yourself, that's going to determine how much you actually truly value yourself. And when you value yourself, not only do you bring more energy to others, but you are able to receive more. You know what I'm saying? When we talk about Venus, Venus is on the end of receiving things. It's a feminine type energy. You know, Venus in a masculine form is that Libra. But the thing is, back to like I was saying about the new moon. When the new moon hits, this is a time in which we are faced with, shout out to Vox. You said Vox Tech, you know what I'm saying? You just subscribe. So, welcome aboard. But for the most part, when we talk about energies going on, it's like you got to really consider things and think for a moment. When we have it, this is a fresh energy. So we had to be fresh and new when it came to Libra type energy, right? But in order to really access that fresh new energy, because whenever we have a new moon, basically we feel naked in that space, right? So it's not something to panic about, but strategy, understanding astrology as a tool, you could use the opposite energy of Libra to generate some kind of energy, a starting point to get the ball rolling. That can give you enough inspiration to balance things out so that even though we're going through a very new naked space, you don't have to suffer kind of that confusion and that not knowing where to go energy. If we look at the opposite energy, we was dealing with Aries. So in totality, it's like, okay, the better you can develop a sense of courage and within yourself, right? Self-confidence, you can establish a certain identity for yourself, right? The better you can do that, this gives you the confidence and the power to then do what the new moon in Libra do, which was let's initiate those relationships. And we're doing it on the right basis. We're not doing it based upon feeling lack and feeling like we're, you say you're brave because only have 8 people who is watching. Hey, look, I look at it like this, right? You can't look at the numbers when it comes to things like this. If God give you a message, you got to get up and get that message out, and the right people will come. You know what I'm saying? This is just how it is. And when you're a smaller creator and you're kind of more authentically, you're not buying stuff, you're not, trying to cheat the game, you really build up a lot of that strength that puts you in a mind state to be able to even handle that position that you really trying to get to. Because again, think about it. If your choice to not express yourself due to the fact that you only got 2 or 5 people watching, and you don't deserve to be in a position when a million people watching. You don't deserve to really be in a position. You're not even gonna have the right mentality to be able to handle that much energy. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm not talking negatively. I'm just spitting some real shit. You know what I'm saying? But again, yeah. Shout out to the Hang Difference up in here. Y'all make sure y'all go ahead tap in with the 717conference.info@gmail.com so y'all can get into that Each One Teach From class with those brilliant women. And shout out to Pedro. You said I count for 2 billion people. Real shit. You know what I'm saying? Everybody who sub come through, they already taking up hella space. You know what I'm saying? And right, Veronica, you said it's the quality of the audience that measures the potential as well, right? Exactly. I'd rather have genuine, real people in my chat than a bunch of bots and stuff. But regardless, like I said, I'm not talking negatively to I don't know how, I think that's Kaylee. I don't know how to say your name, but shout out to that. You made it. You know what I'm saying? Where you from? Shout out to Fantastic Light. We in ATL, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, y'all see the Georgia vibes and shit like that, deciding to kind of switch it up. But back to the topic. So, like I was saying before, using the opposite in Aries during that new moon, the whole key to this moon transit, right? From the new moon in Libra to the full moon in Aries, and then up into the next new moon, which is going to be in what's the next sign? Scorpio. The whole thing is about how can you establish that identity for yourself based upon everything that you've accumulated from the springtime up until now. And that is basically capturing your value in essence, and your value goes beyond what you might have monetarily, what your finances might look like at the moment, or the very physical, mundane things that we use to compare and contrast who's what, who's in power and who's not. You said it right. No one has ever said it right. Thank you. Hey, shout out to you. I'm glad you came by, like I said. So, like I said before, that Aries energy is like, think about how Aries come at life. One thing about like when we talk about astrology, right? And again, it's just a tool. This is a way for you to understand life in a way that you can make it work for you in a sense, right? If y'all follow along. So think about how Aries energy approaches life. It's about itself. It's and again, it can go to the extreme on and be selfish, but what is the things that you could look at Aries and admire, aka the higher octave type versions of Aries energy as it approaches you? You know what I'm saying? This is about, hey, shout out to the rebound sessions. You said watching you from Iceland. Hey, trying to come out to Iceland. So shout out to that. You know what I'm saying? But think about how Aries comes to life. Aries is about that fighter. You know what I'm saying? The higher octave of Aries is being confident, being secure in yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's about me, and I don't need anybody else mind, mentality, or anything like that to get me motivated. You know, Aries at a high octave energy level is about being what do they call it? Self-motivated. It's about being able to start yourself. You know, it's the basically it's the spark. You know what I'm saying? You spark yourself. You get yourself up in the morning. You're self-motivated. You're determined. So these types of energies lend itself to developing that confidence. And what is confidence? Confidence is the ability to confide in yourself. So this is a form of trusting yourself. You know, a lot of people, when they lack confidence, it's because themselves. And we can go into the many different forms of how that happens and how we can build our confidence. But it starts with trust. It starts with making contracts with yourself and fulfilling those successfully. So if you say you're going to get up and do something, actually getting up and doing it is what's actually going to build that confidence. You know, the second you let external factors get you from a goal or a mission or a purpose that you develop for yourself, this does the exact opposite of what you're trying to do. It makes you less confident. It makes you not be able to trust yourself, and not being able to trust yourself, you cannot confide in yourself. So think about not being able to confide in yourself. This means any thought and idea, feeling, emotion you develop, right? Because we know that feelings is not ours. We receive these things and we decide which ones we want to cling to. But you don't have no self-confidence. The little bit of times and moments where you develop your own thought and feeling, guess what? You're not going to fulfill them. You're not going to take that thought and feeling and let that inspire you to make an action towards what you want to see develop in your reality and manifest for you right before your eyes. So you basically are telling yourself that I'm not capable of the thing, bringing to life the things on my mind. And instead, you opt out for other people's opinions. You opt out for other people's ways of seeing the world. And that's why your life is shit. That's why you look at your life and be like, damn, why am I not moving forward? Why am I not nothing working for me? It's because you're too accustomed to internalizing people's views of life, and you have no self-confidence. You have no way of seeing yourself. And that is the number one reason why things seem slow. So in that as the Aries energy, and you said never put your happiness in someone else's hands. It's not their responsibility. It's called self-esteem for a reason. Right. Self. Yeah, right. Shout out to you, man. You kicking that real stuff. And that's the thing too. And I'm glad you actually said that. That's a beautiful segue. And shout out to Isis up in here. You know, say that's a beautiful segue because, like you said, putting your happiness in the hands of someone else. Happiness, we can swap that out with value. So when we talk about this Aries energy during this time and this moment, right? Because we're in the Libra season, and we're in the new moon cycle. So themes of Libra and Aries are intertwined. That's kind of like making the emphasis of what we're doing at the moment in time in through life right now, right? So swapping out happiness for value. When you're put your value in the hands of somebody else, guess what? Not only do you devalue yourself, you can't, it's almost possible to develop the strength to go forward with some of the things that require courage, bravery, things that we need to be able to access in order to get to that next step or get to that next level in life in general. Now, that's going on internally, right? Again, during the new moon, we needed to birth a new way, a new relationship with ourselves in order to be able to get to that point where we feel like, well, let me preface it like this, right? During the new moon, that we had to do to establish this new relationship with ourselves, right? Now the moon is in Scorpio. So what does that transition look like? Well, now that it's in Scorpio, let's start with the lower octave of things, right? Let's say you didn't establish that new relationship with yourself because again, you was lacking confidence and you didn't do the energy work, the shadow work to establish a sense of self to be like, you know what, I am confident, I do have courage. And you didn't establish a certain sense of identity. Instead, you relied on the relationships you had that wasn't really catering to you, and you became dependent on other external forms of validation in order to get you moving, right? So now we're in Scorpio. What's going to happen? Well, again, you're going to start to relate to others on a very manipulative type of frequency. You're going to start to look at the relationships with others as power plays. Moon in Scorpio is going to put you in a place where emotionally you're reacting and responding to what you don't got. See, Scorpio is very aware of what is sacrificing at times, and on a very low octave of Scorpio, this what that stinging energy starts to come into play, because a lower octave Scorpio is going to look at every threat. It's going to be hyper aware of everything in its surroundings, its circumference, that could potentially lead to it not getting what it wants. You know what I'm saying? Starving itself. You know what I'm saying? He said, I literally took myself on a date last night. Hey, that's genius, right? He said, I think it's the start of the special. Right. Exactly. Right. Shout out to you. You know what I'm saying? You should buy your flowers. So when it comes to that Scorpio energy on a lower octave, and see, again, you can look at this as yourself, but you can also look at it as other people not be aware of the energy frequencies that are they're encountering, right? And this helps you being able to, like, basically, if you're driving on the street, how you have to drive for yourself. It can help you peep game for other people in your life that might not actually be aware of even what they might be doing. You know what I'm saying? So what you're going to start to see is a lot of people starting to look at those relationships as opportunity to maybe take something from them, ulterior motive wise, right? Find ways to maybe manipulate and sneak in order to make themselves feel emotionally comfortable. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at yourself and you be like, all right, cool. Like when you're interacting with the world externally, that's what you're going to at the moment. The next couple of days, you're going to see people kind of maybe have an ulterior motive that's going to alter the way that they choose to relate with you. You know what I'm saying? So if be surprised if people kind of give you an energy like they might be switching up. But the thing about it is, you don't necessarily have to jump out on a ledge and assume that, because even on the opposite end too, with this grand water trine, you might be in that space of thinking somebody else is doing something to you, and you can again be a self-fulfilling prophecy and actually create issues uh just subconsciously much in your feelings, because the whole thing, like I was saying before, is energy to provide balance, and it tapped you into, again, planting good seeds with this Libra energy. Now let's talk about the higher octave of this transit, right? So if you're on a good seed, and you're looking to plant good seeds at the moment, that's going to look like, again, you took that selfness from the new moon, right, to develop a new way to establish a relationship with yourself. So this is going to translate to when that Scorpio energy kicks in. This can connect you deep passions of, it's almost like it connects you to the depth of what your truth is that you actually have to offer. So this is like taking that self-confidence that you could have developed, right? And it's making it, it's deepening it. You know what I'm saying? It's making, that's weird to say. It's deepening it. Nah, but it makes it more deep. It makes it more authentic. It takes what might have been a surface level act of bravery and confidence, and it solidifies it. It makes it something that's actually more, again, it taps you into a whole different space. It taps you in what we look at Scorpio to be, what I'm saying? Kind of like you were saying, that sexy energy, that aura type energy, where now you have a certain, now just confidence. It's a, uh, it's that deeper level of confidence. It's like that, it's a certain conviction that you're able to have with your approach to not only your own, but now that we're dealing with a Libra energy, when you go to relate with others, you're you can have a certain conviction about yourself that makes you a lot more, I don't want to say desirable, but you become desirable to the things that you're looking to attract into your own life. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it works. You know what I'm saying? He said, I'm crazy, sick, coughing, and nose can't smell. He said, so far from sexy or manipulated right now. Right. But see, the thing is, you know what I'm saying? If you feel that way about yourself, it don't stop you. You know what I'm saying? You'll still be able to say, well, yeah, I might be sick, but I'm sure I get up and carry out the things I need to do throughout my day. Or it can help you rest without the pressure on your mind. Because think about, like, even when we go through to be sick, right? That's literally the body telling you you need a break. You know what I'm saying? But think about, like, let's say you live a life where you don't take advantage of the times in which you're not sick. So what happens when you get sick? The anxiety is almost like, it almost can kill you. You can suffocate in anxiety when you know that you waste valuable time that you could have been doing something, right? And when that time comes when you actually can't do something, you feel 10 times more, 10 times heavier. And it makes it, and think about what's going on internally at that point. All that pressure, all that anxiety, that negative feeling that stirs up within you makes it even harder to actually heal yourself. So it takes longer for you to recover and get back on your grind, right? Versus a person who's been taken advantage of every step of the way, right? When you do, when the time comes when you get sick, you might look at that time as like, oh, thank God, I finally get to rest. And you get to rest, recover, and you'll be back on your feet in no time. You know what I'm saying? That's like, and I'm using your situation as a metaphor because life and age, like waiting too long to actually get up and do something with your life, waiting too long to actually give a fuck about your day-to-day present. That's the most valuable, precious thing in the world that you can utilize. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. Like, not to get too personal, my grandfather passed, and then my grandmother passed earlier in the year too, in like January, right? But my just passed, and it's like being there for the surface and shit. It made me look at life way differently, and like it'd be kind of cliche to say this type of shit when after you go to a funeral or after somebody in your life pass away. The thing about it is, it was a beautiful moment because I was in charge of putting together like a slideshow video, right? So I got all the pictures of the family from back when he was a kid up until, all the grandkids that he birthed, says lineage created and things like that. It's beautiful to see, like, man, this is a man who took advantage of his life. You can see every moment, moment by moment, what getting up every day and making a choice towards something that you believe in, what I'm saying, to the point where even the way circumstance and how he passed and things that it was at peace. Because when you actually when you are taking that last breath and you about to go, it's like the question is, did you all those things? And see, when they say even like with my yacht, is your heart light as a feather? It really comes from like, it's the question of, did you lay it all on the line when you was alive? Like, did you make each moment count? Because time is finite, but it's the most precious thing we got. You know what I'm saying? Everything else is damn near infinite, but time is not, which is ironic. Like how expansive your spirit is, and the spirit itself, of course, lives on beyond different bodies. But the time you have in this body, in this awareness, in this, oh shit, nigga, oh, got square man. You know what I'm saying? But the time you have in this lifetime is very finite. It's the most precious thing you got. So it's like you got to utilize it how you got to use it. Say you can't look at, and the thing is, it's so easy to just brush things off. You know what I'm saying? To brush things off, but it really be that type of stuff that counts. You know what I'm saying? Because all of us say that we want to change our circumstances, better our life, but little moments in between that actually, you said ready to run, right? He gonna run up on me. But that's just how I go though. But that's a little tangent. But getting back on point, you said that's deep. He said Scorpio is deep in the right. Yeah, you say you rest and rejuvenate, right? Exactly. So, and the thing is, like, my whole point of that is because so many times people, in their own space, and this is a thing about Scorpio, can kind of take things a little too deep. Again, whenever we're going to a moon and Scorpio transit, you have the potential to be at war with yourself, right? You either at war with yourself or you chosen to surrender, and therefore in a taking power and control over the situation by letting go of things that you just can't control. And the thing about not, letting go of the things you can control is that present moment and that choice that you actually make for your day-to-day life. You know what I'm saying? But the things you can't control is like what might happen or what could go wrong or what somebody else might think and assume based upon what they don't understand. You know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily your job to break it down to everybody in your going through, but through your actions and how you carry it, how you carry yourself, that becomes your testimony. And you always want to be in a position where you're somebody who can inspire others rather than somebody who is a example of what not to do at times. Damn, man, the plug gonna text me now. It's too late. I gotta wait. You know what I'm saying? Now the plug gonna text me. I was like, yo, what's good? I'm trying to, man, shoot. But it's all good. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about the moon and Scorpio right now, again, it's gonna alter and influence the way you choose to relate. So you want to make sure that's to your advantage and you're not creating negative outcomes based upon you having the wrong things on your trying to relate with. Because you might be trying to relate to the again, you trying to relate in a way that's false. You're trying to manipulate. So you're trying to hide something and choose to relate in order to get something on the secret end and not work for you. You know what I'm saying? If it's for the wrong reasons and you got the wrong intent behind it. But in life, it really ain't no right or wrong on that end. Because to be honest, there's situations in which that might be what you got to do. Let's say you in an abusive situation, you're dealing with somebody who you have to relate in a way to create more space to get yourself out of there, out of that situation that at one point might have looked like something you wanted to be involved in, but now you realize, you see the truth, and you're like, oh damn, I need my esoteric lawyer so I can get myself out of this case, so I can get myself out of this situation. So again, it's bad. It's not all negative. Sometimes you might have to utilize that manipulative energy to your benefit. You just have to be able to weigh that shit. Is it really justified? You know what I'm saying? And again, keep in mind, the human mind is always going to justify things in its own favor. So just because so just like how that is a valid situation and need to use that manipulation energy, don't just assume because something feels like the right thing to do, aka you get the opportunity to maybe finesse somebody or go over their head based upon a false way of relating, or switching the scale. It's like, when you're weighing something and you in this clip of somebody, there's programs and places you can go to take empty soda cans and shit like that, and they weigh it, and based upon the weight they give you money for what you recycle. It was a dude pouring like little cement into these crushed up cans to make the weight stronger. You know what I'm saying? So it's like stuff like that where you manipulating the weight and stuff like that. If you're doing that for the wrong reasons, like I said, that was just a little metaphor, or allegory. But if you're doing that for the wrong reasons, then there will come a time in which these types of things will, may potentially come back to bite you. He said, bro, I just found my current totem animal, and it's a deer. Do you have one? My condolences for recent family losses. I appreciate that. You said totem animal. I don't know, like that. You know what though? I resonate with. There's animals I really resonate with. One of them is really, it's kind of like any big ass bird in the sky, and another one is a sea creature though. And yeah. But when it comes to like totem animal and stuff like that, like I feel like in a sense, if you in the human form, you was kind of all, you might, I don't know, what I'm saying? It's kind of, it's one of those things where it's all about the animal that you resonate with the most, I guess. But I would equate that to being like the animal the conscious being you was in, or body you was in, maybe the most previous times, or the most memorable times. You know what I'm saying? I'm tripping over words. You know what I'm saying? So, that's, I find that kind of, I should do a live on that too. There's a lot of lives I got to do, man. A lot of work to be done. But yeah. But that's dope. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like a big ass bird in the sky, I resonate with, you know, um, and a sea creature. You know what I'm saying? But it's kind of cool because it kind of puts you in a mind. It kind of shows you the type of mind state you naturally be in and stuff like that. But these days, you know, it's kind of different because you could use animal type consciousness, or like spirit animals and stuff like that. That's cool to resonate with, to understand your own nature more, I guess. But I've been on other things, you know what I'm saying, just as far as like now, because the age we in, the type of age we in requires us to kind of be more on that kind of Aquarian tip, like of being more you know what I'm saying, being more geared towards coming out of the water, coming down from the sky, and figuring out how to kind of like, if you were to think of like cavemen, is like how we are to build things differently, like the system, things like that. Like, so talking about like, and this not to get too crazy, like even the way we talk about astrology and shit like that, I wouldn't, if in the next couple years we put together some kind of system in which we use different things to represent the zodiac wheel that kind of go beyond that extent of just animals. But even though the zodiac wheel is animal natures and stuff like that, I think that on another level, like in order to really get things to that next, it's like we should be looking to revolutionize the way we even engage with animalistic type natures and things that put us in a mentality of just what the animal would do. Because a lot of times, like it's the same thing with astrology. Shout out to Free up in here. It's the same thing when it comes to people using their zodiac signs as an excuse to play out a very childish, toxic survival mode type energy, right? It's like we in a time right now where all of that animalistic shit is kind of being purged, right? And I'm not making this point on top of your point though, like as far as your totem animal and shit like that, because that's dope because it still gives you information on you. But I'm right now on just like how I be seeing shit. It's like right because one thing I find interesting, even with like the Diddy shit and a lot of what we see as far as like the real negative and vile shit that we see coming from like the industry and entertainers, what we know entertainers to be involved in, maybe them not specifically, but the entertainment industry as a whole, like what we hear about what happens to child actors and when we hear about what happens behind closed doors as far as like, individuals in positions of power and how they manipulate and utilize people as chattel, you know what I'm saying, as actual uh cows and shit like that. What I see from that is like there's a purging of all type of behavior, like that Diddy shit being exposed, like how Diddy known like as far as publicly, right? It's like Diddy known for being kind of like his character, right? Because whenever a government uh like a legal case and makes it publicized, like some can't you can't really hide that, right? Because it's like if it's a certain figure in the entertainment eye, they're gonna be publicized. But the government and the media have the power to put something on the stage. And what I'm noticing is that so whenever there's a character on that center stage of the world to be examined and picked apart, I kind of look at it like they take that character and the mentality of that individual and they're using it to exonerate a person. They're trying to kill that whole character. So when you think about Diddy character, very animalistic, you know what I'm saying? Like very, he's kind of hyper aggressive. It's almost like he come across like a gorilla at times, like, ugh, like you know what I'm saying? Just like that energy of like, I'm this, I'm that braggadocious, but then all sexual. And then we think of like all of that vibe that came from kind of that 90s energy, right? He is Scorpio, right? So all of that like real, like, all the face, hyper confident, to the point where it's almost like intimidating, right? Because that's that Scorpio shit. But to the extreme, the freak offs and stuff that he was involved in, all of that to me represents a purge of going about business, going about life in that kind of way. And, again, because they could have went after him based upon stories and evidence and they could have been went out of him after him and him up. But it's interesting that it's happening. When you think of a government, they have the power to tap into everybody's it's like if the government, if it's a business, there's no business that with the executives, supervisors, and whoever's at the top doesn't know what's going on in a business. So it's impossible to kind of think that, oh, they just finding out or they just now got the power to do something about X, Y, and Z. It's like and I'm not saying they waiting on a perfect time, but it's like it's always a choice behind it. So the choice to go after him now is the perfect turning point because Diddy kind of represents the last standing, one of the last standing of the 90s mentality, that kind of just energy of what was going on back then. Because back then, it was a lot of things that more so was correlated to connection and being more animalistic in a sense. Nowadays, in this new technology and this new system, it's more about how can you get those animalistic desires in control. Because even if you think about how social media is ran and things like that, and how, again, sex and porn and stuff is highly pushed. It's like, it's pushed to the point where it's like, y'all know it's kids on this app, right? It's like all these different things, distractions and loopholes, because they want to see how attached are you to all of these different desires and things that keep you in survival mode. Same thing even with food. People talking all up and down about how the food quality is X, Y, and Z and stuff like that. We know that, but are you still going to overeat? because even the way the food is made nowadays, it don't even have the nutrients that keep you full. So in order to actually, it's like if you in a mind state that you cannot control or curve, those kind of more animalistic things that kind of keep you in survival mode, it's like the type of choices that you're going to be making are by it, it's like the type you're going to be making are outdated in principle. If you still going about your sexual habits in the same way that you might have back in the 90s, where it's like it's different. Because even with like how social media is back then, it's like there were certain things you just couldn't do, certain places you couldn't go, even though the stuff was still prevalent. It was like certain things you do or not publicized. Even things like the freak offs and stuff like that, they was going above out, but it was, you didn't know much about celebrity lifestyles, just what the paparazzis would say or just what people might have mentioned in interviews. But even that, different way that people even did interviews. Nowadays, everybody got a podcast. So information is rapid. It's like we see it for what it is. Nowadays, the access we have to all these different things, it's almost like if you think of the difference between an animal and right, when a dog got a bowl of food in front of it, the dog will eat until it is sick. The dog will eat until it literally throws up and then try to eat the throw up, right? Sorry to gross y'all out. Hopefully y'all not eating nothing right now. But that's how a dog behaves. A human being is supposed to have enough awareness, consciousness to be like, I'm going to eat. And you're not even supposed to eat till you feel full. You're supposed to eat until you're supposed to eat right before you in order to actually, you know what I'm saying? It's like human, it's like your people teach you to, it's like intelligent humans. It's like you'll know, okay, I don't need to eat till I'm busting out the seams. I just need to eat to satisfy that hunger, and then I'm good. My digestive system is normal and all that. In today's time, again, it's become a habit to do things like even when you see those people having a mukbang or something like that. And it's like, it's no fucking reason in God's green earth for you to be eating all that food in one sitting. You'll see somebody with a big old bucket of crab legs, a bucket of fried chicken, a 3-pound steak or a 30-pound steak. And it's like, okay, but there's no reason in the world why you should be eating all that right now. So gluttony, things like that, it's like you can just kind of see it where for the sake of entertainment, people toss away morals. And that's the biggest problem right now. This thing kind of being highlighted is that the difference between this age that we moved to in a previous age is the previous age did things for the look and it was about the vibe and the connection. But now it's like the principles and morality things are being put in question because it's like at a certain point, you're an animal or you're looking to, it's like, are you still an animal or are you trying to birth yourself into that new space of being uh kind of just, are you getting beyond your animalistic natures? Same thing, even the conversations with mental health. A lot of issues with mental health is that, again, if you're only reacting off of your trauma, that's the reason why your triggers lead you to ballistic type things. For instance, if you got traumas behind certain things, it can, like, for instance, if you got sexual trauma, guess what? You become hypersexual, almost in an animalistic fashion. If you got uh trauma with maybe, let's say you had trauma surrounding food or something like that, that a lot of leads you to either overeat or undereat. So it's like we see kind of like, okay, mental health is actually driving a lot of us into doing things that make us play out more lower animalistic type natures and things that keep us in. And see, the problem with it is it just keeps you in a loop. Same thing, how even the zodiac sign itself, it's like, yeah, all these natures who we are, but we supposed to be representing the energy in the middle of it that's kind of like ascending through it, not playing out the animalistic natures around the cycle and around the wheel and be in the loop of whatever this reality is. You know what I'm saying? And the way it's constructed is in a way where if you're stuck here, think about everything we got to do in order to just make a living. You got to get up and build their, be at their jobs, be at their school systems, know what they talk about, know what's on their mind, understand the world through their lens. So it's like, it's kind of like this trial period that we in this lifetime. And it's like, you can get stuck on it. You can get stuck continuously being here. And the price you pay, almost like a subscription every month, the price you pay is the the price of life. It's like the thing, everything that comes with this world that becomes straightened after a while, that becomes distracting after a while, like having to get up every day and give all your time, your energy, your focus to a job that isn't really pouring back into you. Whereas the again, you could break that whole cycle by just understanding where your nature, where you have the power actually to take these animalistic natures and choose otherwise. And when you start to control your lower natures and things like that, like in this time, in this day and age, the better you can control those lower natures, the better you'll be able to through the pitfalls that the average individual falls into. Again, if you can't have some type of sexual discipline stuff, guess what? You're gonna keep on falling victim to the distraction that's gonna keep on rather than doing something to get your situation better. If you still fall victim to the way you treat your body and your diet, if you fall victim to overeating due to whatever you want to call it, you can call it whatever you want. The reason behind why you do these things low key only matters for your awareness to get out of it. But if you're of it and you choose to still do it, well, again, this is the problem. This is the spiritual with it, because God looking at you like, well, you're not doing as I did. You're not coming up with you're not showing nothing new. You're not extending or expanding the realm of all possibilities. Therefore, you're not doing things as God would. You're doing things as, again, whatever your body needs, because the body only knows what, like, if you think about it, right? You live life moving through what the body needs. The body can only reproduce what it sees, what it copies, and what others do. Like just how animals, the way animals move and how they even operate is based upon uh what they would call it. It's based upon I forget the actual word for it, but animals are think like animals move the way they move because this is just what they do. You know what I'm saying? How rabbits move, that's just how rabbits move. How deer move, that's just how deer move. Human beings, though, by this consciousness, we have the power of individuality, where depending on where you came from, how you see the world, your individuality determines how you move and operate. So at this level of consciousness, it's like you're able you're able to move and operate based upon that autonomy rather than lost in a loop. But what do you see the most average human being do? Provide participate in groupthink, move and operate based upon group needs and what's socially acceptable based upon their need for validation and things like that. Again, all things that drag them down. So it's like when you look at that next, it's like, you know what I'm saying? It goes very deep. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Mooney up in here. You said fixed water play out like a stuck habit subconsciously when low octave. Good vid so far. Appreciate you, man. I see you drop something too. So make sure you check out Mooney's video too. You said eighth house is the desire house. Right. Right. And see, think about, and right now we about as far as Scorpio goes, how these things again alter, manipulate, influence the way you not only relate to yourself, because the relationship you have with yourself. Think about you being so stuck on certain habits and things like that that keep you from doing that thing you keep saying you want to do. And the only result you can get from that is being further pushed down into all the things keep you demotivated, like more depression, more self-doubt. Again, like I said, all lack of confidence. And right now, during this whole moon cycle, because we started it off as a new moon in Libra and the opposite energy of that Aries, we had to embody in order to get the proper start. What's going to start to develop and happen over time is that, again, bleeding into Scorpio right now, that lack of confidence, that lack of self-awareness is like, damn, you know, you said you talk with your hands a lot. Are you Jewish? Hell no. Nah. But this is like my paintbrush. You know what I'm saying? With my hands, it's like my paintbrush. But you can start to see the pattern. You know what I'm saying? If you are so locked in to that same cycle, and even with eighth house being the desire, remember this is a year 8 as well. And the figure 8, it's all about the loops that you keep stuck in. And this is a significant time due to the fact that we are at middle point of the astrological year. We at that turning point. So based on what you've learned from the spring up until now, it's like this needs to be your new mode of operation. You need to make sure you're making a decision. Every time we hit that cardinal season, you gotta make a decision on something. You gotta choose a certain path to go down. But like I'm saying, that lack of confidence and being able to not really understand where you need to break the loop is going to continue that abusive relationship you got with yourself. This is highlighting a transformative way of relating to yourself that actually births new opportunities. And that's really what our mind need to be on. How can we relate ourselves in a way that it nurtures new opportunities to be birthed versus the abusive relationship we have with ourselves? Because we always, again, we the shadow work don't stop, so there's always a negative aspect relating to ourselves. But the more aware you are of where those triggers happen and you get caught up in those loops, the better you can start to what Libra initiate new ways to think and communicate with yourself to get you out of that, to start to now, okay, yeah, our relationship used to be toxic, but the way I relate to myself now, to me getting some awareness, because when marriage counseling is just somebody trying to help both of y'all more aware of how y'all relating to each other and how y'all insecurities affect how y'all relate. So if we take this into just the relating with yourself, that awareness, that shadow work, just make you more aware of how you've been relating to yourself so that you can start to reverse some of the toxic habits you have due to those triggers. And those triggers is just stuff that keep you on things like that. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Goddess Essence Energy, said peace and love. Dave came in on the word. Hey, that's what's up. That's what's up. Shout out to all y'all. You know what I'm saying? And then shout out to Pedro. He said, bro, I appreciate you don't brag about astrology predictions, about politics, astrologers predictions about. He said, I feel like most astrologers do predictions, especially about politics. This whole Diddy makes me so tense. I just want to be over. Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They want to purge Scorpio. And see, that right there, like, I don't think they want to purge Scorpio energy. I think for this new time, they want to, they're trying to purge they're trying to show an example. They use Diddy as an example to show you that this mentality of being super into your animalistic to the point you become the point you become, and just the way of engaging with other individuals and going about business, doing things that's very like, it's just like that what is it called, like degeneracy, or like that real, it's like degenerate energy. They trying to just expose, hey, this ain't the vibe no more. You said I just started to visit a sex therapist a week, I feel better. Yeah, man, that's good for you. But real shit, it's like they not purging Scorpio energy. So if you think it's about you, it's more so they're trying to, it's and a lot of times, like, I don't even want to give them, like the government and shit like that, credit for that shit, because it's almost like just the people who to get themselves in positions like that. And that's why I don't do, well, me personally, I don't do predictions like that. I just look at what's going on presently more so and try to like understand the full thing. But when it comes to like people in certain positions of power, stuff like that, right, who get into these positions, everything every person who becomes somebody in a system has been allowed in that position. They have been granted access to that position. So there's a contract there. There's an agreement there. Just like in a business, you walk into a business, any employee or supervisor or manager have a contract with that business to be there. So when it always comes a time in which, because we don't know what happened. We don't know if he breached the track. We don't know if it was some tied to something else. You know what I'm saying? All we know from the audience is that, okay, this is what they're putting on the grand stage to be criticized and ridiculed. So, whenever they picking people to be an example of something, it's like, you know, I just don't give them power for that, because it's like by just energy, us being in a new time, and this new time is certain things that just don't make sense no more. And doing business like that, it just don't make sense no more. Not that it's gonna stop, like as far as the trafficking and stuff like that, because what they're doing with that is some completely other shit. Again, that's something that deserves its kind of its own analysis. But for the most part, from the common person kind of watching on the back end, it's like they're utilizing that whole situation as a purge to, I believe, just animalistic natures in general. You know what I'm saying? And that type of mentality, kind of thinking that it's all about, because like even him changing his name to shit Buddy Love and shit like that, it's like it kind of just show you like they just like there's no use for that energy no more. And a lot of times, again, think about how hired in certain positions. They just not doing the job how it's supposed to be done no more. Their term is just like, if you're not like how at a job, right? Every month they do like a performance review, and it's like based upon your performance, if you not if say the industry itself changed and the skills that you had that once was very effective no longer are now obsolete and no longer like bring in good business, well, the more the responsible thing for that business to do is to, hey, we need to find somebody else in this position. So they peep the game as far as the only thing they know of is that times is changing and they can see where the plan is at. So you know what I'm saying? But I don't think it's an attack on Scorpio energy in particular, but it's just that model, that business model of going about life in that kind of way. And see, also, we don't have enough details about what he's being charged on. See, when the court gets involved and they start televising that, then we'll have a better understanding. Because right now, all this like waiting period is them just gathering a case to basically take what's going on with that and start to turn it into the agenda of what they want to actually expose on a grand scale and say this is no longer a thing. So it's kind of like they all they do is react and respond. They don't really, they're not, you know what I'm saying? They really, and see when you think about it, because you might point at them and say, oh, they weak because all they do is react and respond. And that's true, they is weak. But the thing about it is, if you think about it, as far as principles come, as far as like the art of war and stuff like that, the art of war even tell you, and not to just go off of this, it's more wise to observe before you strike than it is to be so overconfident in yourself to strike at all times. Like how they say, like sometimes it's more wise, like even in fighting, like you know what I'm saying. If you can play defense a little bit and you allow somebody to, like, say somebody rush at you right now, they might catch you off guard and maybe get a good one in, but a good warrior, if you're aware enough, it's like you're already prepared. And when somebody rushes, perfect time to throw them off based upon them being too, again, in their feelings to it. They'll tell you, even in fighting, the thing about it is the better you can control your mind and your emotions, the more actual advantage you have in that fight. The person who loses is usually the person who actually physically loses. You know what I'm saying? Right. You said there's an art to it. Yeah, there's an art to everything. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So that's how it go. So you just got to be aware of certain things and how it's operating and moving. So yeah, but getting back into the moon, because we an hour in and I'm just talking about alignment. So the moon in Scorpio is going to be trining again. It's a grand water trine, so a lot of emotional interaction, influence, things that can kind of protract you, but at the same time it is a gift, and the gift is going to be played out through moon, the connection, right? The moon and Scorpio connected to is trining Saturn, so connected to reality at the moment. But again, our perception of reality is going to be influenced by how we feel about ourselves, really. So there's the moon trine Saturn, so being connected to reality, but that reality might be false. And based upon relationship, you said, will this be saved? Yeah, yeah. Shout out to Muma, but or Mama, but for the most part, yeah. So the moon, that's what it is. Trying Saturn, uh, how we connect with reality is gonna. It might be a delusion based upon how we're relating to our moment. So if reality seems harsher than normal, try not to allow that influence you or trick you out of your position, off your path. Right now, the emotion can get in the way, and like I've been saying, the main thing we got to keep in mind with Saturn and Pisces and things like that. Right now, the number one enemy is of escapism. So anything that thrusts you into escapism, you need to look at as something to be destroyed. You know what I'm saying? Don't fall victim to that, because that's the number one thing that right now is like all of our emotions at the moment. It's like we're going through a season. We need our minds sharp. We need to be out there, communicating, engaging with life. You know what I'm saying? Not trying to retreat and escape. Retreating and escape, that's going to put you in a position extreme disadvantage come time where the people's out here making moves and actually making sure they was keeping up with things, even if it was a struggle and a fight. Those people are going to be prepared. They're going to have resources. They're going to have connections. They're going to move a lot more fluidly through the rest of the fall and the wintertime versus those who, just because of what they might be encountering at the moment that's making them uncomfortable, they chose to escape and they chose to do other things. Like I was just saying, they chose to lean inside of things versus get their mind right, get engaged and actually embrace reality and embrace life. The people who run away from it, they're going to be left in the dark. They're going to be people who not actually going to have no leverage, no resources, not connected to no community or anything like that to help them get established at a new time. During this time, more than ever, we got to be able to, everybody got to be so focused on developing their own self, their sense of self to create strength within them. So when we do get together, not only do you have a clear position and role in the scheme of things, but you're also able to, it's like the more you develop yourself, the more you can contribute. And the more you can contribute, it's like not only the outcome of that community coming together is, but also it's like you feel better about yourself. It's like we at a time too, even when we think about things like community, don't think it's something where you could sit back, bullshit, just jump into a group of people already doing something and think it's going to be smooth and you could fit in. It's like, no, part of that Aquarius energy is that strength of being self-sufficient still, individual. You don't have to lean and depend for everything. You actually got your own shit together. But you, because you have shit together, you have the choice, the power of choice to combine and connect. You know what I'm saying? One thing Aquarius energy don't fuck with is leeches. People who come don't have nothing to offer, nothing to talk about, don't know shit about nothing, but want to be a part of it. No, you will be alienated. So think about it like that. If you're too much in escapism energy, you're not even going to be in a position to really be anything, to have no real network, to have no real connection, leverage, and participation energy because you've been working on something that you got of value and people can see how serious you are. You're going to come into the group and you will be alienated. You will be outcast. You will be forced to do whatever whatever systematic bullshit the government got for you because that's the only role you really going to fit. See, people in life, the reason people don't actually get anywhere is because they don't make choices that's going to establish them. Sit around, they wait. And when you wait for the government cheese, then you're subjected to the government please, whatever the government gonna give to you that you got from being on your knees and stuff like that. Like I'm rhyming and shit, but that's how it be. You'd be a bunch of people begging, please, please, please save me, save me. And you might in your mind think, oh, I already know that no one coming to save me, but it gotta come, it gotta, don't just keep it in your mind. Let it be embodied through your actions. So no one's coming to save you need to look like you choosing, making choices every day that's going to get you established. It's going to put you in position. That's going to make you build something. And you don't got to build the biggest building, but you need to do the best you can as yourself, being yourself, and develop that so that the world did come crashing. You self-sufficient. You can make something shake. And the people around you who share those similar thoughts and feelings, y'all can come together and actually build a shelter that looks strong enough to withstand any kind of storm that might come, or at least the power and control to make a decision that's going to benefit y'all versus just being subjected to whatever the government throw at you. Because when the government turn around and say, okay, everybody got to live at these concentration camps, and if you don't have a certain amount of land, if you don't got this, you don't got this kind of resource, then you can't, you have to go to the land. You want to be in a position you could do whatever you want based upon what you built up. And that goes deeper too. It's not just kind of a blanket statement. Like it's, I'm just using that as an example. But that's the number one thing we got to be mindful of right now, forms of escapism, things that get us trapped into that animalistic loop and keep us tied down. You know what I'm saying? The next energy going to be Sagittarius. So the transition into that, well, I'll get to that after I hit all the alignments. So that's the moon trining Saturn, and also the moon trining Neptune. So that's just something we got to be aware of. We're highly emotional about a reality right now, and based upon you being able to let go of shit that is keeping you in that loop, like Mooney was saying, those habitual things that keep you in that same cycle. If you don't know these things, you will allow that delusion to become what you fight for. At Grand Trine, again, we got Mars and Cancer. So Mars is all gung ho for all the wrong things. If you're not emotionally, subconsciously aware of what's going on, be emotionally charged to fight for that delusion that you stuck in. So you're going to all the justifying ideas and tactics to make whatever you're addicted to, because we also got Venus in Scorpio as well. Whatever you're addicted to, you're going to be willing to put the nail to keep that going, to keep that there. So we have to be hyper aware and vigilant about our own self-development, about our own clarity on what we're still attached to and what we need to break free from. You know what I'm saying? And again, that different levels for everybody involved. Because again, you might not have a lot of addictions, but you might still have emotional reactions to certain things that keep you in less desirable situations and circumstances. So you just got to keep that in mind too. And again, desires ain't all. Some desires are actually good. You might have a strong desire right now to get yourself elevated, to get yourself to the next step. So that's the positive end of this grand water trine, is that all these different emotions could be utilized and directed towards the right things. That kind of inspiration in the world to now set a different tone for your life. And this is the type of healthy relationship with yourself that can lead to more healthy external representation of being relatable, being balanced, harmonious, people reciprocating what you have to give. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times you might be in a situation right now where it don't feel like you being reciprocated, but instead of attacking everybody on a physical external level, you have to do some internal work to make you, it's like the inner work you do, almost like you don't have no time to sit around and pick apart what everybody else bringing to the table. If you making sure you cooking what's in your kitchen and you got your shit straight, surprised at how smooth everything else starts to pan out for you. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be aware of that. Um, so again, those are the two sides in which that moon grand water trine can interact with things. Either it's going to make you, everything I was saying in the beginning, all that escapism, that's going to lead to manipulation tactics like that. You know what I'm saying? Okay, that's what's up. You know what I'm saying? You said, so for the most part, moon also in conjunction Chiron. So misunderstanding what the point of a mistake was. So again, you still might not get it, but these energies are more in alignment because with Aries and Scorpio, they both share Mars. So on some level, it gives you a little more insight as to why the mistake happened. But don't get so caught up on the why mistake happened. You need to be more so focused on, I would say the best thing is like what triggered that and understanding how to kind of work through that and understand that trigger as far as why it keep happening. Again, hardest thing for Scorpio to do. Scorpio is aware of its sacrifices, but at the same time, you could be over overcome. You could be overcome with shame and things like that. That could be influencing you to even to continue with the same cycle of self abuse, right? Relating to yourself in a negative way, allowing thoughts of self doubt to keep you in a loop. Even if you feign, even if you fake, I'm the shit. You deep down inside know the different emotions you feel that motivate you for real. And if that motivation is still you being hung up on a mistake, then you know it kind of prevents you of doing upper healing. And honestly, this is the type of shit I would say you want to go to war with the mentalities you developed in the past that led to mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Like you could go out an all out war with the things that keep you in those loops. I mean, more so that than taking the gentle approach right now. Because the gentle approach is going to have you do things in a very slow manner that feels more comfortable and feels good, but it's not going to actually get the job done. I think right now we got to be a lot more just going to things within ourselves that we know just ain't going to cut it because we don't really have a lot of time. You know what I'm saying? Going into the next years, it's like, certain things is finna go direct and the energy shift is not going to be a happy go time or bullshitting. You know what I'm saying? Right now, you might think shit's sweet because it's Libra season, but Libra ain't fucking with you. You know what I'm saying? All that little playing around energy, and I would recommend more so choosing to go to war because the thing about it is, you choose to go to war with something versus allowing the war to come to you. You're it's different. You know what I'm saying? It's different. You're more prepared for it. And it's not about just being dramatic and going to the extreme. But I do think that the things you keep yourself looped in, it's like you have to start to have a serious approach to how to deal with those things versus allowing them to continue to go and to be gentle with yourself. And, I think in the beginning of the year, I was saying, everybody's on a healing journey, but fuck all the journey part. You need to make the decision to heal, make the decision to stop something. You need to make that transition. Everybody on a journey, but nobody choosing to be healed. Choosing to be healed is being faced with those same difficulties, but you're making a conscious effort to actually correct the behavior versus giving yourself a abundance amount of grace to the point where you just to justify continuing on the cycle for longer than it needs to go on. And it's like that's how spiritual practitioners, pop culture, astrologers. That's how they play things, and that's how they get people to go broke paying for readings and shit like that, but they don't actually eat them with their own problems. And the truth of the matter is all of these things, these are mental health things. These would be things that we should be able to handle on our own. You know what I'm saying? You go to a therapist, you waste the money and time and shit like that sometimes. Sometimes you need that conversation, especially if you don't got people in your life you can trust with the type of information you want to exchange. You know what I'm saying? That's a profession. Again, all you doing is paying somebody to have a conversation with you, to have your thoughts able to be it's like all a therapist really is doing is um helping you observe yourself, basically. You said proactive instead of reactive. Shout out to Miss Dell. Exactly. Proactive instead of reactive. Letting everything come to you to a point where, it creates a big crash and all of a sudden it's catastrophic. And you sit there acting like you a victim when you allowed this to become a thing. You allow everything to pile up and yourself to be drowned under all that bullshit. But yeah, all the therapist is really doing is helping you observe yourself. So, but that's a different conversation. I don't want to get too. So the moon in Scorpio also, like I said, in conjunct Chiron, but conjunct the North Node as well. So we might misunderstand as well where we're actually trying to take things. So right now, I would recommend being very clear on where you trying to go, your goals and things like that. You know what I'm saying? You need to make sure you write things down and get these things clear. You know what I'm saying? And we do got new Daestar planners coming on the way, Daestar journals as well, stuff like that. We're getting that together. It was a little crazy, but they will be here for the next year calendars as well, so that y'all can continue to, do y'all rituals and spells, write things out, get things very clear for yourself, and keep on progressing and things like that in that nature. But for right now, I would recommend, you need to make sure you actually collect your thoughts right now. Um, Again, this is just heavy distraction time. Now we got the election, but nobody is really understanding the whole point of what's going on right now. It's like everybody's wrapped up, and it got to do with it being an air season. Whenever we're going through an air transit, the sun is in an air sign. It's like it's easy to kind of like, it's that thing where you want to hear this conversation, you want to listen to that conversation, but it can make you scatterbrained. It can make you airheaded, where nothing was captured in that mind. Everything, your mind was all over the place, and you never actually rest or actualized what was on your mind. So don't get whisked away in the wind. Don't let, conversations, whispers, gossip, and fear mongering get you distracted from figuring out how to bring balance to your own life right now, because that's really what we got to do. That's another thing too. Like I was saying about the new moon and having to use that Aries energy to have a sense of self. Because a lot of people who don't know how to be themselves right now, or don't have a healthy sense of self, don't have confidence, they're going to be easily influenced, gullible, naive to whatever somebody else is telling them, kicking a good game, being manipulated, getting themselves involved in things that's going to distract them and take their time away from developing something of value that came from a genuine place themselves and stuff. Like right now, we all need to be in a space where we coming up with a new way of how to navigate these times. Y'all do realize that, again, all these traditional ways of how to get it and how to build something, these things are literally obsolete at this point. So it's like, we can't just be sitting on the sidelines as things continue to develop, move past us. Um, the moon also is going to be, so we talked about in conjuncting the North Node and uh, Chiron. The moon is also going to be, let's see, squaring opposite Uranus. So feeling opposite to rebellion, change, even opposition at the moment. So we might be afraid of going forward with certain change. Again, you're uncomfortable with certain outcomes and certain things that's already going on. So don't allow that to prevent you from, still developing a new way to basically have value. Uranus being a Taurus, everybody got to figure out a new way to get it, a new way to establish themselves, a new way to get founded, or to get stable. So you might feel opposite to the unique things that you are able to do and need to be doing in order to gain ability. So don't allow that to kind of distract you as well. Be able to understand and identify the emotions you got to transform in order to make you more, more basically locked in and more able to establish yourself and get grounded. You know what I'm saying? Like Uranus and Taurus is like we have to do very in order to get grounded. So get grounded, that look like you having, it could be material or it could be internal too. It could be you just getting grounded with yourself. So the moon in Scorpio, it requires you to let go certain things so that you can actually do what you need to do as an individual to get to that grounded space. Um, and again, it can be actually physically money. Like there might be new things you need to be doing in this new time, new things you need to be doing in this new time that's actually going to help you establish yourself, get grounded, and get secure on a material financial basis. So just make sure you're leaning into that, and not letting your fear, whether it be a fear of whatever, rejection, abandonment, fear of something going against you, fear, all kinds of fear that might creep in. Just make sure you're not allowing these things to overtake you to the point you become you reject that unique energy you need to be exploring in order to create stability at this time. The moon is also in conjunct Jupiter, so misunderstanding experiences, also the information, misunderstanding the information from our experiences. So the meanings and reasonings we're trying to come up with right now, what we're experiencing, we might not know how to feel about these things. And right now, you might not need to be too invested about that right now. That might keep you distracted. That might keep confused. So try not to put too much credence on what you feel about the information that you are encountering. Like I said, this is the age of bad advice. A lot of people gonna talk like they know what they're talking about, and the truth is that it's like it's impossible for them to know your story. It's impossible. Like if you know for yourself as an individual what you've been experiencing and what's true to you, you need to cling more, you need to lean more on that versus somebody trying to tell you how to do something. Like in this day and age, right? Instead of going out and doing something brand new for themselves, a person will sit and waste hella time. And maybe it's not a waste of time, but a person will spend a tremendous amount of time researching a podcast. This person talk about that. This person talk about this. And the thing about it is, there's always going to be somebody to say something positive, and there's always going to be somebody to say something negative. At the end of the day, you got to go out and experience it. And there's no amount of information that's going to make you feel comfortable or satisfied, prepared to actually go forward with something until you just decide that you're ready. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking against information before you dive into something, but understand that it's a real thing to get lost in that hole. You know what I'm saying? To get lost in knowledge, to continually falling off a ledge because you're trying to dive into something when the real wisdom, the real work is only done when you actually get involved, experience an actual thing. All that kind of tiptoeing around the edge, that's not really going to get you what's needed in order to maximize efficiency in that space. And what I mean by maximize efficiency, I mean be an expert in that space, be prominent in that space, be proficient in that space, where other people can look at you as a source rather than a copycat. You know what I'm saying? And you see somebody who's kicking game and speaking knowledge on something, but the way they do it is like, man, I could click on anybody else to get that same information. You automatically, it's like the value of your content or whatever you're putting out, it's dramatically decreased. What makes content, especially in this days and age, what makes your voice special is your individuality. And that can only be developed from you interacting, participating in a certain thing with your own eyes and your own ears and your own, you know what I'm saying, your own awareness. And a lot of people skip that part and they just want to be experts about something they haven't experienced. And that's where the bad advice comes in. A lot of people read a bunch of books or link up with an AI to give them information for their podcast versus live life and derive real experiences and information to kick game. You know what I'm saying? But so don't fall for that, because I'm using that as an example. That could be anything in your life though, because you could be a person who's trying to be something completely different, something more. You know what I'm saying? You could be trying to you trying to do, and you could be sitting there procrastinating, trying to get all the information, but you're not doing nothing to actually get out and experience it, do it for yourself, and that's going to cost you because there, again, right now everybody gonna say, "Oh, we in a recession." Everybody's in panic mode. Everybody's in desperation mode. And if they're not now, they will be, especially during the election, after election. Everybody's going to be in desperation mode. But one thing you got to understand is that during times like this is where you need to capitalize, ground yourself, develop something that's going to actually help you situate yourself at a time where everybody is in chaos. When everybody, it's like everything in reverse. When people are in chaos in the world, that's when you need to be developing order. And when you develop order at a time where the world is telling you to be chaotic, when things flip, the world is now in order, you're going to be one of the more prominent ones in a position to take full advantage of that order. And everybody who was just in chaos mode, or they're going to be dependent on the people who who took the time to actually establish something at a time where they thought the right thing to do was be chaotic. If that makes sense. I think I don't want to confuse people, but I think that might have been confusing but if y'all get what I'm saying, y'all get it. It's like they're gonna tell you it's a risk, so everybody gonna be in panic mode instead of just getting shit stable. When the world flips and everything is stable, the people who took the time to get things in order is so solidified that they're gonna have the freedom to then experiment and create new things that's gonna kind of keep the world moving forward, innovate during the next cycle. It's like the people who got order during the world in chaos, when the world is now in order, they already, so they're free to be chaotic. They're free to do what they want to do. They can expand whatever they want to expand in because they done got rich at a time where everybody can about how broke they was. You know what I'm saying? It's just a couple of things. It's how the economy works. It's how all this shit works. It's ebb and flow, everything in reverse type shit. But again, we could talk about that at a different live. Um, the moon also, see, in conjunct, yeah, we talk about Tron with Cancer, nothing in Leo, Virgo, nothing in Virgo. Mercury is in Libra as well, and we kind of talked about that a little bit in this live, but it's not really making no major alignments to the moon. Um, yeah, moon is Scorpio. What else? Sag, nothing to Sag. Okay, moon sextile and Pluto too. So again, the motivation to actually transform, or opportunity to allow fear to overcome your ability to take power and control over something. So again, Pluto in Capricorn for the last time is really just signifying everybody needing to step up to the plate. That position you got to play, God needs you to, I ain't gonna say God needs you to step up to it because God don't need shit. You need it for your own safety, for your own sanity. You need to step up to that position and be able to actually embody that energy and take power control over your own life. So if that's not what you're doing it backwards, But this is the opportunity to at least be emotionally aware of what maybe needs to be let go of in order to get to that space, you know. And the thing is, the moon in Scorpio is going to make you react to something, and that something is either bringing frustration that's going to lead you to be at war with yourself, or it's going to give you the insight to understand what needs to be sacrificed and surrendered to, let go of in order to carry out that transformation. And as you commit to the death of something, you also birth of something new. But people who cling on to things that are already dead, they suffer the consequences of a harsh birth. You know what I'm saying? So you want to be on the end where you allow these things and you invert versus being in conflict and resistance to things that you cannot control. You will never win that battle. You know what I'm saying? Certain things in life that you can't control. If you try to fight those things, you know what I'm saying? That's like trying to fight a tidal wave. That's trying to fight forces of nature that go beyond your control. You standing out trying to swing on a hurricane. Like you trying to fist fight a hurricane. You trying to box with God. You're never gonna win that fight. You know what I'm saying? The fight that you know, the good fight is what you have control over. So that's your ability to react to these things and move and make decisions based upon the information you and awareness you have. Yeah, and that pretty much sums it. I appreciate everybody for sliding through. Shout out to y'all. Have a beautiful transition. It's a Saturday, so make sure y'all, solidify yourself, get solid and take the time to restrict yourself on something maybe today. Saturday is always a good day to get serious. So, allow the Scorpio energy not to depress you, but to motivate you to actually commit to those transformations you got to make. And if you're interested in being involved into the women's Each One Teach One, make sure y'all send an email to 77conference.info@gmail.com. A lot of very powerful information is going to be discussed in those classes. And, we really push into, it's like the title says, each one teach one. So not only do you connect with a community of the people, intelligent minds who actually care about changing the world for a better place, but before we even get to that, they care about being better versions of themselves. You want to be connected with people like that. You know what I'm saying? You need a community around you, people who are looking to better themselves so that you can be inspired, especially in those times where it's difficult to get yourself inspired. You want to be around people who doing the thing that you want to do too. So if you're looking to better yourself, please get connected with those brilliant, and we're gonna continue to take things to the next level. What else? I feel like it's always something. Yeah, just make sure y'all share this, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and let's keep the vibes going. Shout out to everybody on their own grind, doing what they do. Let's stay focused, stay motivated, keep it up. Much love. Catch y'all next piece.